radio dial right here. You're locked into the hottest news station on the planet. Hot 702.5 in FM sound. Blazing today's hip-hop, R&B, and pop music. Keeping your radio on fire. Bringing you the hottest, realest, riskiest talk shows live 24/7 on hot7025fm.com.
Hi. Hey. What's up?
All your favorite artists.
Check it out. Say my name. DJ Khaled.
This is Mila J.
Bruno Mars.
On hot7025fm.com.
Hello. There we go. What's going on, beautiful people? Let me get myself together. I'm not even together. How is it going? This is Let's Talk Love. Y'all already know that. And we here at the hottest station on the planet, making sure that we talk about some love. I see something on my hair. I don't know if this is like a little edge control or something. I ain't gonna be able to keep looking at that. But yes, welcome. Let me get myself together for real. I don't even have the show pulled up. So, y'all come on in here in the room. Ain't that what they be saying on lives? I'm gonna let y'all come on in the room. But definitely, it's your favorite prescriber, of course, Miss Love Doctor. And we trying to push this love like weight out here. And the basics of this month is very, very important to why we have these conversations to begin with, is because we do need to talk about love. We do need to have different conversations to the point where we are like, able to say things to each other that we need to hear, right? But at this show, this is where love meets beauty, and my beautiful co-host, Beauty on the Beat, is not with us today in studio. However, hopefully she can tune in and at least be a part of the comments. Thank you. To be a part of the comments and get in on this little... It's a risky topic, and as much as I keep wanting to not... I was like, you know what, like... I don't know if I necessarily need to talk about mental health all month. You know, like, I don't have to necessarily do that. But obviously, it is very necessary that I do that. So I'm going to do that. That's where we're at with it. So we are here on the hottest station on the planet. It is Hot 702.5. Y'all already know what it is. It is time to talk love. So thank you for tuning in. And I always make sure I say that if nobody has told you today that they loved you, I'm going to tell you that I love you today, because it's important to hear. And hopefully you get a hug from somebody today, because those are important to get. Okay? But, yeah, so let's give a little bit of shout out to our sponsors. We got Keys Royalty House of Love, the house where love is key, repairing, restoring, rebuilding love from within, essential relationship coaching, reestablishing the foundation of love, and reconstructing. Keys Do Love Mommies nonprofit organization, creating a village of healthy parents, empowering healthy children, and always stand on beat with hair and makeup with Beauty on the Beat. Be sure to comment, guys, and love and share this show. And if you want to talk to us, you can call in too at 702-551-5261. Take me a little sip. I really feel like I'm not together today. But you already know it's a safe space, no judgment. Just come in here and be respectful, keep it classy. Hey, friend, welcome in. That rhymed. I got bars. Y'all know I got bars. So today, we're talking about the adverse childhood experience, right? And like I said, I really didn't want to talk about mental health. So I honestly wrote this show last night. And because I was like, we could talk about something lighter, like let's talk about something fun. But I was like, no. Like the other part of me is like, no, this is Mental Health Awareness Month. We're talking about stuff that has stuff to do with mental health awareness. And it's important because people are dealing with things every single day. And it's tough to watch, especially, shout out to all my people in the mental health field. I tend to like make posts and check on y'all, check on your strong people. Make sure you good, because if you're not good, then we are really not in a good space. So if you're a coach or a therapist or whoever, and you be needing an event and you need somebody to talk to, my inbox is a safe space, because sometimes you be needing an event too, but we couldn't get away from it. And I already know the importance of these type of conversations. And most times we don't even want to talk about the issues that lies within us, right? We want to be able to like get through them, get through your day, hell, get through the emotions without allowing everything to come to the surface. And when you think about it, like, damn, who wants to be emo? Well, some people, I'm learning. I met this girl the other day and she said she really loves to cry. I said, really? That is very interesting. She said, yes, it's so releasing. I'm like, damn, and I don't know. I was about to crack a little joke, like, okay, so is all this little chubby shit, is this tears? But I've been like that since I was a kid. Like, I couldn't stand crying about stupid shit. But when you need to cry, you need to cry. So I get it. But it sounds, to some people, it's like, I don't want to do that, especially if you're emotionally unavailable, people dealing with things that could allow emotions to surface. Honestly, they understand where our life stressors come from and where things that we deal with on a daily basis is so common and familiar to each person. It's kind of crazy, the fact that we don't give each other more grace, right? And we often talk about how we act. We talk about how we date. We talk about how we parent. Hell, we talk about how we love or lack thereof. We all understand how serious breaking generational curses is. So let's truly dig into how we came to be these said stressors and possible ways of creating some prevention. But it has been known how adversaries would affect humans back during the slaveries. So not many things surprise me, as we have been dealing with and being groomed for some of this shit for centuries before we were even born. So back in the 90s, they decided to do a test and see if these issues were truly effective. And well, look at the findings and look at the way the world is now. So we're going to go ahead and get into this. So adverse childhood experience. I think I'm going to go ahead and do the history portion first, because history is more, let me see. I just pretty much put that, yeah, I'm going to do the history first because it just flows with what I just said. So understanding our history during the slavery, they knew how to control the minds was the key to the body, right? Because they needed your body to be a slave. So from the Frederick Douglass books, he stated, a form of control, a far more insidious and malicious one, was the annual Christmas holidays, where the gluttony and binge drinking was almost mandatory. It was deemed a disgrace and not if you were not to get drunk at the Christmas event. And at the end of the holidays, sickened by excessive alcohol, the hungover men felt that we had almost as well as be slaves to the man as to the rum. Slaves were also given intoxicated drinks so they would have little time to think about escaping. If you didn't take it, you were considered ungrateful, and it was a form of a social control. So remember that word, social control, okay? So now, let's go back and let's talk about what the Adverse Childhood Experience is, also known as ACEs. It was conducted by the Centers for Disease Control and the Kaiser's Permanente in the mid-1990s, with a group of patients insured through the Kaiser Permanente program. The initial study of the focus on how traumatic childhood events may negatively affect the adult health. The 17,000 participants surveyed was asked about their experience with childhood maltreatment, family dysfunction, and current health statuses and their behaviors. The ACEs pyramids represents the conceptual framework created, which illustrates how strongly the ACEs are related to personal well-being throughout the lifespan, right? The ACE study found a direct link between childhood trauma and adult onsets of chronic diseases, incarceration, and employment challenges. The higher the number of the ACEs, the greater the incident, the negative outcomes as captured in the ACE pyramid. In 2015, the RISE Center adapted the pyramid into 2 layers on the bottom that account for the role historically trauma and social location play in the person's health outcome. This revised model aligns better with the social ecological model and accounts for the influence of each sphere on health outcomes. So please note, I made sure I put this in here because I think this is key. It said, please note the original CDC Kaiser data set is not available to the public. Why not? So Kaiser owns the data, and the data collections is ongoing. Prescription drugs, medical statuses, and original participants. So in that same said pyramid that they're speaking of, what happens is, at the bottom of it is generational embodiments and historical traumas. Then you have race, social, and conditions, local contents. Then you have complex traumas in the ACEs, allocaustic load and disrupted neurological developments, coping adoption of health risk behaviors, and then at the top 2 tiers you have burden of disease, distress, criminalization, and stigmatization, and then at the very top of the pyramid you have early death, right? Let me know, y'all stop now, church, what they say. Stop me when I'm, when you gotta say amen or whatever. So ACEs is potentially traumatic events that occurs in the childhood between the ages of 0 and 17 years. ACEs are, wait, let me stop right there. Pause. Because 0 to 17, like we were all there at some point between 0 and 17, and you already know that in that point in time of your life, you're trying to figure things out. You're trying to figure out who you are. You're trying to figure out who these people who say they're your friends, if they're not your friends, and your body is changing. You're going through a lot of things between this time. And between 0 and 3, this is when your emotional feelings are developed and things like that. So if you have all these traumatic things go on between 0 and 17, why? Nobody should go through all this traumatic shit at such a young age, right? So ACEs are linked to chronic health problems, mental illness, and substance use problems in the adolescents and adults. ACEs can also negatively impact education, job opportunities, and earning potentials. For example, experiencing violence and abuse or neglect, witnessing violence in the home or the community, and I added movies, music, YouTube, games, you know what I'm saying? Witnessing violence, having a family member attempt or die by suicide. All of that shit is heavy as hell between 0 and 17. And just we know the real that there is probably a high number of people who've experienced all of these things before 17. A child's environment that can undermine their sense of safety, stability, and bonding, such as growing up in the household with substance use problems. I'm really funny, right? So I'm like, I typed that. Enter the cigarette, alcohol, and crack era. So I should say it differently because the alcohol was introduced first. So alcohol, cigarette, crack era. Mental health problems. Enters alcohol, cigarette, crack era. Now, prescription medication. Right? Instability due to the parental separation of a household member being in jail or prison. Heavy on the what? Crack era, right? The war on drugs. So, I don't know. Like, all of that right there is so much that somebody between the years of 0 and 17 should definitely not have to deal with, and then how do they deal with it, especially if they don't know how to emotionally control themselves. They're not emotional intelligent. Their parents weren't emotional intelligent, so everybody's walking around dealing with things basically how they see other people deal with things, and then they kind of structure it their own way. Hey, Dee girl, what's going on? Now, the ACEs are categorized into three groups. We got abuse, we got household challenges, and we got neglect. How many people know something about at least abuse and at least neglect or at least household challenges, right? If you don't have any of those, if you never experienced any of those, especially during the ages of 0 and 17, drop a black heart, because I think that's very rare and unique. And I love to see it because that's how we should have been raised. And so we're going to go ahead and kick it off with abuse. Abuse is emotional abuse. A parent, a step-parent, an adult living in your home swore to you, insulted you, put you down, or acted in a way that made you feel afraid that you might be physically hurt. Yeah, I don't know. So emotional abuse is, I don't know. There is no levels, but I feel like because emotional abuse gets in your head and it gets into your heart, it's so silent, and people don't realize that their words are very, very powerful. Like, your words can cut, so you most times need to be very careful or mindful, I should say, of how you speak to people, because you just don't know. You just don't know what people are going through. I was just told that, speaking of Dee Dee being on here, I was just told that I spoke to a young lady, and it threw me through a loop when they first told me, because I'm thinking I'm like, oh my God, I've been running my mouth. I done did something bad. Like, what did I do? But when she reminded me of the conversation, she said I just sat down next to her and I asked her how she was doing. And when I asked her how she was doing, she just started talking. Now, I can't tell you pretty much nothing about that conversation. When she told me that, I do remember sitting next to her. I remember talking to her. The content of the conversation, I did not remember. But she said the impact of the conversation has led to something major, within their relationship and things like that. So let's just say I would have sat down and been rude to her. And I don't think I was like overly friendly. I just sat next to her like, hey, how you doing, or whatever I said. And she was like, I don't know. I just opened up to you and started talking to you. Like, so people be needing to talk about stuff, like, seriously. But just to, have things that's going on with you emotionally, sometimes you can't see that on a person. Physical abuse, you can probably see. If somebody got a black eye, a plug of hair missing, scrapes and scratches on them, sometimes you can see that. And that's a parent, a step-parent, or an adult living in your home. Pushes, grab, and slap, threw something at you, or hit you so hard that you have marks or injuries. So, what do you think? Like, I don't think people need to hit people. I don't think people have the right to do a lot of things. But it's like, what gives you the right to hit me? You're angry, so you hit me. You can't contain your emotions enough for you not to hit me with your hand or skin. Like, what my did say, you touching my skin? You touch... Like, why? Why would you? I don't know. I've never been the physical type of person. I don't even like to pillow fight and none of that shit, because I don't like to get hit. That's just that, so they like, you want to be a boxer and all that? No, thank you, because I don't want to get hit. And I get mad when I get hit, so I just don't play. Even though with brothers, we didn't have no choice. We didn't have no choice but to play fight. Like, I don't want to play fight, but you still had to. Now, sexual abuse is an adult, a relative, a family, a friend, or a stranger who is at least 5 years older than you ever touched or fondled your body in a sexual way, made you touch his or her body in a sexual way, attempted to have any type of sexual intercourse with you. Now, 5 years or older, I'm trying to think how much of that I agree with. 5 years. I don't know. I'm gonna let that one sit on out because I don't know. Like, I don't think you should be no year older if it's not wanted. I don't care how old you are. So, yeah, this is the CDC's description. Household challenges is a mother treated violently. Your mother or stepmother was pushed, grabbed, slapped, or something thrown at her, kicked, bitten, hit with a fist, hit with something hard, repeatedly hit for over at least a few minutes, or ever threatened or hurt by a knife, a gun, by your father or stepfather or mother's boyfriend. These are very specific. I didn't read these. But I'm like, it's the CDC. But this is their experiment, okay? So I couldn't really alter the words. I couldn't really write what I mean, I put in here what I wanted to say, but this is really their experiment, and this is how they based it. So the CDC and the Kaiser Permanente, this is their experiment, right? So then it says substance abuse in the household. A household member with a problem drinker or alcoholic or household member using street drugs. Mental health is a household member was depressed or mentally ill, or a household member attempted suicide. Parental separation or divorce. Your parents were separated or divorced. Incarcerated household members. Somebody went to jail and or prison. So pretty much, if this stuff is going on within your home, imagine all of this going on in your home. There's violence towards the mother. Maybe the mother is violent towards the dad because there's substance abuse in the household, which is creating depression, which is also creating mental illness. And then there's a separation because they can't. There's a substance abuse and a physical abuse and an emotional abuse. And then somebody goes to jail. It's like, what if all of that is in your damn household? It's almost like these, you don't have a chance. Now, neglect. Neglect is something different because a lot of people do neglectful things and don't even realize it. And emotional neglect is big. So if someone in your family never or rarely help you feel important or special, you never or rarely felt love, people in your family never or rarely looked out for each other and felt close to each other, or your family was never or rarely a source of strength and support. But let's talk about like verbal neglect. How some people talk to their kids and you calling them stupid and little motherfuckers and John is bad as hell. I don't know why it is such a trigger for me when I hear people say, oh, that's my baby, he bad as hell. Why is your kid bad, ma'am? And kids aren't bad, but if I'm being told that I'm bad, I'm probably gonna adopt bad behavior because my mom been telling me I'm bad, or my dad's been telling me I'm bad, or with your little, like you have to be very careful with the words that you use because you're the one planting the seeds into these children, right? You're the first source of all of their emotional support and strength. Physical neglect, there was never or rarely someone to take care of you, protect you, or take you to the doctor if you needed. You didn't have enough to eat. Your parents were too drunk or too high to take care of you. Or if you had to sometime wear dirty clothes. Okay. I kind of like what they did with physical neglect. And so all of these questions were basically asked to these 17,000 people, and if they had at least one of these, that was going to create a risk factor, because you only need one in order for you to have some type of possibility of an adversary. So it's not stating that you necessarily will, but sometimes when you take the time out to do the work on yourself as an adult, you can kind of dig into yourself and be like, oh shit, I do this because of this. And I've been doing that because of that, So you start to really look at like little things, and it might be the smallest thing that it's probably not anything that's disruptive to your life on the outer side, but on the inside, you probably like, why do I act like this? Or why do I Why do I feel like this when certain people are around or anything like that? Or, you know, shit, why do you lynch, you know, how people just flash on people for no reason? You be like, calm down. Why are you flashing? But at the same time, like, you never know, like, all those things that's pent up that you don't realize this is even your communication style. Now, let's talk about some risk factors. So we have individual risk factors, and then we'll do community risk factors, and then we have protective factors, individual and family, and then protective factors for the community. So an individual risk factor is families experiencing caregivers challenges related to children with special needs. For example, diabetes, mental health illness, chronic and physical illnesses. Yeah. I can see that on the simple fact that, you know, I think it takes, you know, the love of a parent is something that's magnificent, right? But we have also seen where there's been people who don't necessarily have that love and that connection for a child. So if you have a child with special needs and there's that lack of bond there, I could see how that could create risk factors. Children and youth who don't feel close to their parents or caregivers and feel like they can't talk to them about their feelings. So you got kids just out here just closed off. So 9 times out of 10, if I talk to some kids or the parents, it's like, what's going on or whatever. Oh, you know, the child is acting up, not going to school, blah, 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 blah. So what could be the stressor? I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with them. Okay. So what's been going on within the family within the last year, let's just say? Oh, you know, my dad died and this died and, you know, this happened and then there was a flood in the house and this and that. So you're the only one affected by all of that. You don't think this child who may be 15 or 16 and understands their emotions, even if you're 6, 7, or 8, I think children understands their emotions, and most times we make them feel like things that we're going through aren't their problems. But that's easier said than done. Youth who start dating early or engaging in sexual activity early pregnancy. Children and youth with few or no friends or friends who engage in aggressive or delinquent behavior. I be feeling like I need somebody to rebuttal. Like, because I be having so many thoughts in my head when I'm listening to these. But it's just, you know, I have to keep some of them contained. Families with caregivers who have limited understanding of children's needs or development. So if you have a child and you don't understand what their needs are for their development, you have limited understanding. It creates a risk factor. Families with caregivers who were abused or neglected as a child. So that's a risk factor because you probably haven't gone to therapy or dealt with your own traumas from being a child of neglect and doesn't realize that it is spilling out on you. Families with young caregivers or single parents. Families with low income. Families with adults with low levels of education. Families experiencing high levels of parenting and stress and economic stress. So high levels of parenting stress and economic stress. All of these things that we just named, but just think about the fact that there was a certain point in time where, I mean, it's still similar, but there's a certain point in time where you were not even be able to learn how to read. So in that same Frederick Douglass book, he was talking about how the slave master's wife was teaching him alphabets. And that's where his first lessons came in. And the slave master had to remind her, like, it's illegal to teach the slaves to read. So she stopped, but he said that it was too late. He started to see letters and words, and He like, it's something behind this. It's something I need to know. I need to be able to read. So, he still pushed through. Families who use spanking and other forms of corporal punishment for discipline. Define spanking. No. Sometimes, they would need a little pop, pop. They understand it. Like, stop playing. But most of the times, kids understand exactly what you be saying. And they know when you're serious, and they know when you're not. Families with inconsistent discipline or low levels of parenting, monitoring, and supervision. So if you're inconsistent with your discipline, but I always say firm, fair, inconsistent. That's really how it should go. Families that are isolated forms and not connected to other people, like their extended family, friends, or neighbors. I can see that being a risk factor because isolation is, they use it as a form of punishment. Families with high conflict and negative communication styles. I feel like that one should have been at the top. Because at this point where we are now, families have more conflict and have negative communication styles and have been taught that a long time ago. Families with attitudes accepting of or justifying violence and aggression. So if you have an attitude of accepting of or justifying violence and aggression, oh, okay. Like, oh, well, they needed their ass beat. She needed her ass beat anyway. Justifying it. Does that go? I don't know if that goes. So the community risk factors is communities with high rates of violence and crime. So there's I was watching about K-pop, right, on Netflix. I was watching about K-pop to learn about their music genre or whatever. And over there, they're not even allowed to rap, sing, or anything violent on their radio platforms and or on their TV at all. It's banned. I'm like, do you know how smart and important that is? If people aren't seeing violence all the time, you wouldn't want to duplicate that. If you saw more people loving and being very compassionate to each other, what do you think that we would be doing? It's not like all of a sudden everybody woke up like, I'm going to be a fucking asshole. But if you have a community with high rates of violence and crime, you're going to think that's the way of living. Communities with high rates of poverty and limited education and economical opportunities. I hope y'all see what I'm saying here without saying it, because I'm going to say it, but I just hope that y'all can see what I'm saying without me saying it. So, communities with high rates of poverty, limited education, and economic opportunities. Communities with high unemployment rates. Communities with easy access to drugs and alcohol. I'm not quite sure how easy that access was, because if you're pushed and everybody's crammed to a specific area, aka the hood, there's like no cocaine plants in the middle of the hood. Well, when it first came, I don't know about now. Let me mind my business. I don't know what's out there, but you get what I'm saying. At the end of the day, you have easy access to drugs and alcohol, but nobody in the hood was making drugs and alcohol. But they got easy access to it. Communities where neighborhoods don't know or look out for each other, there is a low community involvement. So if we're taught to be each other's enemy, why wouldn't we still want to be like family and community and unity, and everybody cook for each other on a block, and if something's going on with your child, somebody out there looking out. So I made a post like last week asking, do other parents hold parents accountable? Some people say yes, some people said no. So I'm thinking like, well, why not? I thought we said that it takes a village to raise the kids. So for me, most times if I'm saying something, it's because I care about your kid. You as a parent, I'm not looking at it like that. Like, let me tell you how to be a parent. I'm telling you something because I care about your child and your child's well-being. They say children are the future. Aren't we supposed to care about them, or is the future a wrap? Just saying. We do have to get to a place where we start to look out for each other again. because low community involvement amongst residents. Like when my boyfriend was murdered, they said, "You don't know your neighbors?" I was like, I see them, I speak, I wave, but I didn't. I just went home, went to work, went home, went to work. So I didn't know any people in my apartment complex. But communities with few community activities for young people. I remember specifically when they closed our neighborhood skating rink. Then they start closing some of the rec centers, and then they start taking the hoops off of the basketball courts. You can see it, and then it's like the neighborhood just stopped thriving. Because at first, at some point in time, like everybody was outside, like everybody wanted to be outside. Outside was cracking. Okay, kids have no clue that outside can really be cracking. But communities with unstable housing and where residentials move frequently, I can see that. Communities where families frequently experience food insecurities. Yeah, because they gonna cram the fast food down, but where is the fresh food? And then they gonna jack the price up on that. Like, that's crazy. Communities with high level of social and environmental disorder. Social and environmental disorder. All right, so we've said all that to say what? That these things obviously create long-term effects within you, and it shows up in your adulthood in different ways. So having some of these things that you've dealt with, for one, I'm gonna just say that there's so much compassion for every person, because every last one of us probably have dealt with something or something similar. And like I said, some people probably got a lot of these. Some people probably got all of these. Like, at the same time, especially as a African American community and in the Black and brown community, it's so important to have grace for each other. It doesn't make any sense, because communities with unstable housing where residentials move frequently, there was a lot of people who had to move because they weren't the landlord. They didn't own the house. They didn't own the land. So if the landlord put you out, or if the landlord raised the rent, you got to move. So now it's like all your neighbors that's probably been your neighbors, which will create like a community bond. You got to meet new neighbors, and then you meet new neighbors, and you meet in new neighborhoods, and you don't know these people. And now your kids is uprooted because they got to go to a different school. They don't have the same friends. I'm just saying. It doesn't have to always be like this big, super, super traumatic thing that will cause a childhood adversary, but it could be some of these things, and it's very important to realize how these things are affecting our community now. Now, some protective factors for the individual and families are creating safe, stable, and nurturing relationships, meaning children have a consistent family life where they are safe, taken care of, and supported. All of them are taken care of is not necessarily free, but for a child to feel safe, for them to feel supported, those are major. Those are major in the adult that they will become. That's what we forgetting, that you got these kids now, but they're going to be adults. They're definitely going to get older if they have the damn opportunity to. That is a trigger. Children who have positive friendships and peer networks. Like, listen, you got friends that look out for you. Not having you want to get in trouble, not trying to peer pressure you into doing some shit they already know you don't want to do. Even if you got friends that be on something else, when they know that that's not something that you do, they be like, nah, we just going to leave her out of it. You know what I'm saying? Because we already know she ain't going to be on that. That's a good friend. Children who do well in school. So having the proper things that you need for school. I think making these kids understand how important their education is to them, i.e. is being smart, and not feeling like, what was they saying? The school is for fools and dummies and all of that. But like, however you want to educate yourself and do well with the education that you receive. I'm it's sad that a lot of it is the streets, the school of hard knocks. Children who have caring adults outside of the family who serves as the mentor and the role model. So, back in the day, it was your godparents, godmoms, and goddads, and your cousins, and your aunties, and all these different things. Now, it's like, some families, it's just one and done. Like, oh, it's just me and my child, or, me, my husband, and my child. Families is small, and they probably don't see a lot of different mentors or role models or people to look up to. So if I only have these 3-4 people to look up to, then this is what I'm looking up to. I ain't looking up that far sometimes. Families where caregivers can meet basic needs of food, shelter, and health services for children. Taking your kid to the doctor is important. Especially if they're feeling something. Taking them to the dentist, making sure their teeth are straight. So when they become an adult, they don't have all these teeth problems trying to fix things when they get older. And families where caregivers have college degrees or higher. So they have someone to look up to. Like, well, shit, all my sisters and brothers got degrees. It's a no-brainer for me, Families and caregivers that have steady employment. So to see somebody working, longevity shows that, okay, well, I can do the same thing. This doesn't necessarily mean you have to work for somebody else, but creating a space where you have steady income, is something that as a child you will want to see. Families with strong social support networks and positive relationships with the people that are around them. So the friends that they hang out with, the co-workers that they go to the bar with, the people that they associate with on their sports team, different things like that. But you want it to be a positive relationship, not where y'all on the football field throwing bowls. When I went to that game, I was so blown away when I saw them go to blows out there. Kids, old lady got knocked down. I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, there's no way back in the day that we would even be disrespectful in front of an adult. You sure ain't gonna be cursing, and you sure as hell ain't gonna be pushing one down. Like, what? I can't even imagine. Push my grandmama down? I can't. I wouldn't be able to do it. Families where caregivers are engaged in the parental monitoring, supervision, and consistent enforcement of the rules. So as much as kids don't like rules, they're important in their life. And they might as well get used to them, because when they go out into the world, there's rules there too. So when I be talking to kids and they be like, well, my mom always making me do the chores, you're going to have to clean your own house when you get one. You're just in training. So clean up the kitchen like your mama told you to, enforce the rules, and then have everybody be in compliance that's around you. So they're not like, okay, well, let me go ask dad. Dad's going to give it to me. Let me go ask mom. Mom's going to give it to me, or vice versa. So families where caregivers, adults, work through their conflicts peacefully. Whoo-wee. That one should have been at the top. Conflict resolution within the household is major key. That's major key. It's handle their conflict peacefully. To show your kid that is a major flex. That's a major flex. To watch your child handle conflict as a little, I don't want to fight you. I can see it now. I can see my little me now, like, Mom, I told him I didn't want to fight them. And then they kept on playing. So I had to tell them, like, just because I don't want to fight doesn't mean I can't fight. And then they got the hint. It's a difference. Families where caregivers help children work through their problems, allow them a space. Allow them a space to talk about what's going on. Even if you think their little problem is so small or so minute or so childish, give them space to work through their little old problems. They need that. Families that engage in fun, positive activities together. That's so major. That's so major. Because that's stuff that they going to remember. Like, oh, I remember me and my family, we went bowling like twice a month and we had so much fun. Or I remember, like you going to remember those, especially fun things and positive activities. Families that encourage the importance of school of the child. So reminding them of the importance of it, whatever that looks like for you. Because I know like a lot of people say like college is just not for me. Like sitting in that classroom is not for me. But whatever education that you're fueling yourself with, long as you advise your children the importance of that. Now we're going to get into the community protective factors. Communities where families have access to economic and financial help. I mean, we wouldn't need no financial help if everybody would have got their $1 million out of those $3 trillion. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay, I'm just saying we would have been straight. Even if people would have just spent it all back, it would have went right back into the economy, right? Just saying. It would have been cars galore. Like y'all crazy for that. Y'all should have gave everybody a cool meal and let everybody chill. Y'all gave us $1,200 knowing that some people rent is $25,000, $5,000. Especially like what in New York, they was talking about how high that rent is. I'm like, and it's dirty there. Y'all telling me? Houseway, you gave everybody $1,200. Boo! Come on with the million. Or reparations would be cool. I mean, just putting that in the universe. Communities where families have access to medical care and mental health services. Being in the mental health field, I really appreciate when I see other people like passionate about what they're doing and helping other people. And there's a lot of people that are out here putting themselves out there, doing the work in the community. I feel like I'm so far behind, but I got, reason to be far behind. Some of these adverse challenges. But I push through. Sometimes you have to want more. You have to want to be better. You have to want to try to break that stigma and not be a part of what's designed for you. You have to try. And it works. Might be hard, but it works. Communities where families have safe, stable housing. Communities where families have access to nurturing and safe child care. How about free child care? Like, come on now. You got everybody got to go to work. So why are you making them pay so much money for child care when they have to go to work? I think child care should be free. Don't let me run for president. Didi told me I need to run for president today. I got a lot of ideas, okay? They're going to be mad at me. Communities where families have access to high-quality preschools. The preschool should be high quality. That makes a lot of sense because that's where a lot of your child's shaping and molding gets done is those preschool ages. Communities where families have access to safe, engaging after-school programs and activities. Give these babies something to do to stimulate their mind instead of letting them sit up and listen to murder rap music and then you wondering why I found a gun in my son's book bag or, let's just be real. Somebody was playing with a gun and it accidentally went off. And now not only did somebody get hurt, but it's your friend and you did it. The court don't care about that. The court don't care nothing about that. Communities where adults have work opportunities with family-friendly policies. I have been seeing that a little bit lately where they're looking out for people with children to be able to bring their kids to work and stuff like that because you have to go to work. You have no other choice. You have no other choice but to find a way to make some type of income in order to be able to provide all of your basic needs. Communities with the strong partnership between the community, the business, healthcare, government, and other sectors. So all of those go hand in hand. Partnerships. Partnership is a word that we probably need to talk about all by itself because I'm not quite sure people know, not they don't know. Let me stop saying that. I just think sometimes these topics need to be talked about, like partnership, because if it's between the community and the business, right? I was watching this show, and I've been trying so hard not to watch violent stuff, but it slid in because her name was Latasha. And it was like a love letter to Latasha on Netflix, right? Long story short, the Asian lady had been whipping her gun out, upping her gun out on them kids almost every day, every other day with the whole hurry up and buy shit, right? She upped her gun on that baby and she shot her. She only got probation. And I want to say her store was still in the same damn neighborhood. I'm like, first of all, these people are coming into your store. This is the only way that you have a business. We have to stop forgetting about that part. The community and the business, they are one. They are one. Without the community, you don't have a business. Because you need people to come and buy what you're selling. And if without the people, there's no revenue. So that partnership is so important. And when I see people talking crazy on Facebook, like, oh, this and get your bag up and all of that, I'm like, especially when they tell me, like, well, you don't charge that, so you shouldn't, your price is your price. I'll be like, we all got different type of hustle mentalities, and I'm not doing nothing right now, so I'm going to go get this couple dollars right now. If this is all they can afford, whatever, you ain't getting over on me because I already know what I charge. That's most times why I ask people, what's your budget? You might as well shoot me straight. Me telling you what I charge and then we going back and forth, it's unnecessary. Tell me what your budget is and I'm going to let you know if I can work with that. Because we need that partnership, right? Communities where residents feel connected to each other and are involved with each other, feel safe with each other, feel love within each other. Like, where is the love? That's what we need. Community where violence is not tolerated or accepted. It's not tolerated or accepted. That's what we need. But I'm definitely going to throw in there, we need the love. You need the love within the community. So having these things in place, creating these bonds, creating where families are nurturing and safe, and everybody is not having all of the adversaries that we talked about prior, which is within the 3 categories of abuse, neglect, and in-home issues, in-home challenges. We can work hard to change those things around. So I want to thank you guys for listening in. This does wrap up Mental Health Awareness Month. I'm going to try to think about something fun and a little lighter to talk about next week. I know y'all like talking about nasty stuff all the time, so maybe we'll come with something like that. But also, the Solution of Change is having a Fancy Fridays this Friday at Cork and Thorn. They have blessed me and asked Miss Love Doctor to come in as one of their speakers. It is at 6 p.m. Like I said, it's at Cork and Thorn. I believe tickets are $10, but they are selling them at the door. They have comedians. They're talking about mental health with a different type of twist. So I think that's going to be pretty dope. And then don't forget, we got the Real Love and Basketball game June 24th. I want to make sure that if you got a boo thing, you crushing, you guys are, in a place where you ready to get married, you're already married, but you want to spice things up in a fun, physical way, let's play this game. And it's not the NBA. I wrote the rules, so don't be trying to come and post up on people or all that stuff they be saying, because I don't even know those rules anyway. But anyway, thank you for tuning in, and make sure y'all tap in next week, Wednesday at 4. I think Miss Beauty on the Beat will definitely be here. We're going to try to think about something fun, because I feel like Mental Health Awareness Month, we were a little heavy on it, but, it has to be done. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.